Hello, people. I got a question for y'all. Are you ready for some football?
What?
No? I'll let y'all think about it for a second. But while y'all thinking, I'll say, just say a little bit, right? Shaquille O'Neal, Roy Jones Jr., Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, and Deion, Coach Prime, Sanders. One thing that they all have in common is at one point in time, outside of being high-level athletes inside of their respective field, they ventured into the land of hip-hop and music.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I will let you, the fans and the people, decide on what level, you want to rate everybody at, and, what I'm saying, let y'all talk about and discuss how well or how much you enjoyed the content and all that. But here at the B Connection, we just going to stick with one, and we're not judging. We don't debate and all that good stuff. We just have to have little fun conversations. And one thing they all had, to my knowledge, hold on, Omaha. No, kill. All for that is the fact that their secret weapon has always been music and samples. So at one point in time, all of these individuals, I believe, had sampled some kind of track. So it's like, if I'm gonna try something, why not draw something from the best to kind of, elevate something that's already been created. So with all of that being said, we're gonna ask y'all again. Are y'all ready for some football? Or is it just the music? Because here at the B Connection, a lot of times it's just the music, but we're gonna sprinkle in some of this football too as well. Let's drop the intro. Everybody, hey, welcome back to the B Connection here. In an effort and just to recognize, and because of course I'm a big, huge super fan, and as you can see, we got a number 7 down low. We are getting to that magical time of the year, and no, I'm not talking Christmas. Football is almost back upon us, or it's practically here. You know what I'm saying, depending on who you ask. So we decided to have as a trio, we decided to have a fun little conversation, and we're gonna y'all stick with us, right? Stick with us, because we're gonna show y'all how we're gonna tie this whole sports football theme into it. But with all that being said, to my left, your right, depending on how you see and hear, being absorbing all of this information, we have the beautiful, talented singer, songwriter, and producer. To my left, your right, please introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hey y'all, this is Alexa Gold. I'm looking like, late 80s, early 90s.
I can dig it. I can definitely dig it. You know what? Let me stop for a second, because we got a bone to pick with you, sir. Because for whatever reason, you like burning up papers for some reason. You
stupid.
Sir. I had to speak to your wife and daughter a few times, because they said, brother Sean, Uncle Sean, Daddy, my husband, he keeps on starting these fires, and I have no idea why. And fires are bad, but for whatever reason, he's a professional at this. So whenever he puts pen to paper, it just happens. So go ahead and introduce yourself, young pyrotechnic sir.
I appreciate that intro, my good sir. I go by Azrael DiCaprio. Cerebral Assassin of Raw Bill Squad is in the building as per usual. White Rose, if you know my alias.
Hey, White Rose, B Connection. Hey, we are here, and
Yes.
I said B Connection, but we are the, because I ain't gonna introduce myself. I'm gonna just say y'all already know who I am. The mouth of the south, the beast of the east, and all that. The can do kid, Shizz, and we are the B Connection.
Considering who we were doing, like who we were talking about today, I kind of wanted to dress the part. I've been getting really into like the vintage style. I got my gloves on and my pearls and, the whole look. And I was like, you know what? You spoke in the beginning about how different athletes have also kind of like tackled, no pun intended.
Right.
Music, like the music industry. And I appreciate that. I honestly appreciate that a lot. And the reason why is because I think it's so easy to pigeonhole people into one field or to one, sort of creative outlet. And to see people kind of reach beyond what people thought they could do or thought they could be, I think is really impressive. And even though the result might not necessarily always
results may vary.
Results may definitely vary. However, you know, it's still really cool to see one of your favorite athletes actually get into, you know, music and to try and to have fun with it and all of that. And so I felt like the song that we, you know, we're actually talking about today, yeah, Deion Sanders, man.
Coach Prime.
Prime time.
Prime time. You know, when I went back and watched the video, it is so 90s.
Yo, why is it so grainy? Was it that grainy when I was watching it on the box?
Right. But we was like blown away by like, oh my God, now we got stuff in 8K and QLED.
Yo, I couldn't tell where his nose was and where the car was. I was like, yo, that video is so...
Yeah.
So quintessentially 90s.
Oh, it's quintessentially 90s.
Yeah,
all of the suits, the fedoras, you know, like just the whole look of it. Yeah, like 3 or 4 ladies in the background dancing with the short, you know, black mini dresses on. It was a whole vibe. It really was. It was the whole vibe. And, you know, I gotta say, so when I was doing the research for the song, I found, you know, of course I found like the album, but then I also saw that there was like a remix version of the album.
Right.
That was really interesting. But then I saw that he had some kind of like, or at least he had, you know, a heavy hitter on his album. Now, I know, Ree, you mentioned MC Hammer. I believe you mentioned MC Hammer. I was thinking Dallas Austin.
Well, if you remember the conversation, we're talking about plural heavy hitters. So Dallas Austin was already brought up. And I was like, I just want to know where Hammer came into play.
You know what? I have a kind of like a fun opinion on that, but Alexa, go ahead.
Well, so I say all that to say that now I'm not sure who was on the teams that produced the other music for the other athletes that you mentioned, but I will say that to have Dallas Austin produce a record for you was pretty major at that time. Dallas Austin, one of the biggest producers, you know, during particularly the 90s era. I mean, he worked with TLC, he worked with Madonna, he worked with Boyz II Men. I mean, he produced Boyz II Men's first album, or was a part of that project. He also was the main producer for TLC's first 2 albums. I mean, he wasn't playing around basically when he was like in the music industry. So to have someone of that caliber work on like your album, even for this particular song, I think spoke volumes about like what he could actually afford, but also like who he was around, because he, you know, you could have just got anybody to produce a song. I mean, yeah, it's an athlete, but that doesn't mean they're working with the best people in the music industry. But he really got somebody who was legit a musician and producer to create this song that, funny enough, I think is misunderstood in a lot of ways. When I listened to an interview, it was a recent interview, possibly maybe a few years ago at the latest, but Deion actually spoke about the fact that, you know, this particular song for him really represented kind of like the way that everything was changing around him once he got really big into football and started, you know, making a lot of money, and how he started to see how everyone was changing around him, you know. So you can listen to the song and think he's kind of just like, you know, like being flashy and
talking money, cars, and hoes.
Yeah, and all of that. But really, it's him speaking about how he was staying the same and everything else was changing around him. And I thought that was a good point to bring up into the conversation, how the song and even the video could be misunderstood and just kind of seem like it's more of like a autobiography in the sense of like who he was at the time. And I think pieces of it was, but I think it really was like kind of like just a reminder to people like, but I'm still like, you know, I'm still a regular cat. Like, you know, I'm still an average dude. So yeah, I just wanted to, that's my first thoughts on that.
Oh, go ahead, read what you got, because you got, see the, I see you got the.
Lex be accidentally taking me to places I want to go without me even knowing I want to get there.
Wow.
So I'm gonna say my piece. I'm gonna try to speak on everything at once, and then I'm gonna pass the mic to Sean and let him dig deep if he wants to. So, one, Lex, I completely agree with you. I do think that there's a deeper meaning to that record, as surface as it might appear to be. And let me not be nice, as surface as it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
The intro to the record gives it the other meaning.
Right.
Where he said, "It's people around me that I don't even know that want to hang around me. People that wouldn't even talk to me before.
Right.
Must be the money."
Right.
So then that takes me to one because you know I get deep on records that don't even deserve to get deep on.
Do I need to put the chin strap back on?
No. We good to go. So one, I said this to you guys when we were talking about it in group chat. I feel like because Deion was playing in Atlanta at a time where Dallas Austin was molding the R&B sound of Atlanta, you gotta believe they ran into each other at the club.
Right.
So much like Eddie Murphy and Rick James, what you doing after this?
Right.
Why don't you come to the studio? Oh, that's nice. Oh, let me try that. Like,
right, you
get in there, just see what
hear
you
yourself or something like that, and it's I always want to try it. You know what I'm saying?
So, must be the money, right? The reason I think that's a perfect record for Deion, not just for Deion, because like I said to Sean, it's on brand for who Deion is or who Deion was at the time.
Right.
But I also think there's a saying that all rappers want to be athletes.
Yes.
All athletes want to be rappers. But you know what that is? That's because we all come from the same place.
Right.
What you either want to rap or you want to do sports. Right. Well, of course, that's not everybody. But man, if I make it, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna drop me a single. I'm gonna drop an album.
Right.
Man, if I had money, Bob, you know how it go.
Right.
You know how it go. So him putting out a record called "Must Be the Money" makes sense. What's crazy though is when you consider who they sampled that record from, right? Secret Weapons Must Be the Music is a classic record. And it's funny because Lex brought a question to the group chat.
I was going to touch that.
Yeah, I know. So is a hit record always a classic? Is a classic always a hit record? Can the two coexist? There was a tweet from Missy Elliott, who is a legend, by the way. Love Missy Elliott. If Timbaland sampled enough, we should do a Missy record, but we'll get there. Anyway, I feel like Must Be the Music is one of those records that I was talking about in group chat where I said certain records are a timepiece. You remember exactly where you were the first time you heard it.
Right.
Sometimes it doesn't age well, which isn't the case here, but that's what I was saying. Like sometimes
right.
Well. Sometimes it doesn't age well, but you remember exactly where you were, which made it a classic.
Right.
Secret Weapon made a classic. They didn't stay around long.
Right.
Jerome ended up having to start another group.
Yeah. Rest in peace, because he had a stroke, I think, in like 2007 or something like that.
Yeah. Self-taught himself guitar and everything. That's craziness. But anyway, for most of those members to have to go back and get day jobs, which is fine, right? But when you consider how big the record was,
right,
you can't imagine having that big of a record and then feeling like, oh man, I gotta go back to work at Walmart.
Oh yeah.
I wish I would go back to working with Nikon because after I sold X amount of copies. Like, are you kidding me? You kidding me? So the contrast between Secret Weapon essentially having to go back to regular life and Deion Sanders making a record called Must Be the Money, and the contrast just between those two perspectives was crazy to me. So as Lex was talking, like I hadn't even thought about it until you started talking. I was like, damn, that's crazy. Like his record is about materialism, whereas the people who got sampled don't really have much to show for it. You know what I mean? So that's just kind of where I'm at right now. Shizz, what you got?
Oh, well, I want to pass it to Lex because she had something she wanted to blurt out. So
oh yeah, go ahead.
Go for it, Alexa.
Yeah, very, very interesting perspective. And I think it also shows like how we assume that kind of, because we're talking about, music and we're talking about sports. And so there's this assumption that if you get into one or the other, and that possibly if you get to a certain like height, then you're always going to stay there, or that you're always going to have a gold record or platinum, album or whatever the case may be. And it's like, I think it's a combination of things, but I also think too, that in terms of Secret Weapon, that it might've been, just like not being able to sustain the success after that particular album, which I want to say, I mean, I don't really remember seeing it, but I think it was their first album, if not their only album. I don't really remember seeing, too many albums from them.
They broke up almost right after that.
Yeah, and so you have like, whereas Deion Sanders really is like kind of like an individual, obviously he's a part of a team and all, but he's an individual carving out his own path, as opposed to a band that is having to deal with different personalities. Do you want to stay in the music business? Do you not? Do you want to keep creating songs? Like there's so many things to contend with. So I thought it was a very interesting perspective, and we can definitely go off on a tangent in terms of like what happens to a lot of people who enter the music industry, possibly have a hit, but due to, all kinds of factors aren't able to continue creating music or don't want to continue creating music. And, it's just like, well, I put out that one song and now here I am as a teacher.
Right. Okay. So people, for everyone that's here and seeing, being absorbing this information, if you haven't figured it out by now, the track we are talking is Secret Weapons Must Be the Music off their self-titled album Secret Weapon, which was released in 1981. I'm sorry. Only producer credits I could really find for the track was by a individual. And please, in the comment sections below, correct me if I'm wrong. If we don't pull the information up by the end of this episode, goes by the name of a C.A. Polk. Now, again, I couldn't find any real information on who, what, if that individual is, but if, again, in the comments, please feel free to give out and dole out any corrections.
First name was Clyde.
Clyde. Okay. Yeah, Mr. Clyde.
Only thing I found on him was Secret Weapon, but that was his name, Clyde.
Right. And obviously, we're transitioning to Deion Sanders sampling that track for his track Must Be the Money off of his album Primetime, which was produced by Dallas Austin and a group collective, a duo by the name of the Hines brothers, by the name of, correct me again, Andre and Duncan Hines. That track or album was released December 26th of 1994. Alexa, where was you at? But we'll get to that later on. Okay, so my opinion, I'm gonna call an audible and shift the play to the left, because y'all always go right, so I'm gonna go left, right? Because I'm saying the coverage and the defense and what they playing, so I'm paying attention to all of that, right? So Secret Weapon was a post-disco group. So basically post-disco, meaning after the short-lived disco era was around and died for a second in the early 80s, I guess music was kind of trying to still ride that wave in a sense, I guess, but infuse it into the new sounds that were going on. And for me personally, and referring back to the question that we talked about previously in our group text, we were saying a hit and a classic. I would like to call this an unknown classic. And I call it an unknown classic because it's one of those songs to where, say for example, if you hear everybody off the rip, everybody knows that's Michael Jackson's beat. Everybody knows that without even blinking, without even thinking, and already you like and you just going because it hits so hard because it's a classic song.
Right.
Now, I call this an unknown classic because I don't care where you're at, what you're doing. And again, this is just my opinion. If this song comes on and you hear that rhythm, that song, that beat, that cadence, it's gonna make you move.
Right.
Now you'll be thinking like, who is this? And I can guarantee you that everybody in the car while y'all are jamming, nobody knows who sings this song.
Right.
But when it plays, it's a hit. It always gets you going, and I feel like it masterfully carries that disco sound, which I'm a personal fan of. Shout out to disco, long live disco. Which it captures that sound, but also transitions well by moving forward and incorporating that kind of like that infant hip hop sound as well. So it's like a mashup of genres because you have the lyrics and you have the bass guitar with the synthesizers and the beat and the song in the back still giving you that disco feel, but kind of throwing in those smooth, jazzy hip hop lyrics, if you will.
No,
So
you know what's crazy? Because when I listen to it, because I've heard that song 1,000 times, especially Lex sent me a link of an episode of Soul Train when they were dancing to.
I watched that, yeah.
Russell Thomas and Jerome playing bass and lead guitar. Yo, that's what set me off, dog.
Killed it.
Oh my God.
Killed it.
Oh my
Killed
God.
it. But and before you go though, let me speak on Coach.
Yeah.
Let me speak on Coach Prime for a second.
Go ahead.
So believe it or not, right? And against a popular opinion, right? I'm actually a fan of the song because I feel like it captures the same energy from its predecessor, just in a different style and way, and it still holds on to that same energy. Because believe it or not, 9 times out of 10, if you played that beat right, more people would probably say must be the money. And for most part, most people probably think, unless you're just like a musically inclined person or whatever, you would probably think that, oh, that's Deion's song, not knowing that, you know what I'm saying, that not knowing that it was sampled.
Right.
And I honestly thought it was dope because it still held and captured on and in essence capitalized off of that same energy of the original. Now, as far as like you were saying, it may toe the line, right, of gimmick or seriousness. But I think, like you said, Ree, Deion in that era in time, with Atlanta being where it was and the things that he was doing and all that, it almost seems genuinely natural because Deion Sanders is one of those charismatic individuals that I feel like can transition and try new things because, one, I'm already a high level athlete in my profession, so I'm just really just carrying on my natural charm and natural on the field abilities and just carrying that over into the music field. And one more second, Reed, let me before I pass you the ball, it meshes well. And then for him, and I know we're going to speak on it, for Hammer to be involved, I feel like it was almost the perfect marriage because I feel like Deion Sanders and during that time is almost a prototypical MC Hammer, if you will, because if you watch his videos, watch his performances, watch his dance, watch that Must Be the Money video, and watch how Deion is moving. Now, granted, he has his own rhythm, his own flash and style, and all of that, but you can tell he definitely took some tips and hints from Hammer, the way he moves and all of that kind of how he carried him. So
yeah.
Again, I'm actually a fan of the track. Now, again, am I writing it and rating it as one of the best lyrical onslaughts of, you know what I'm saying, 1994? Nah, we ain't saying that. But for what it was, and stepping out and doing, who else, right? Who else but Coach Prime? Who else but Primetime Neon Deion Sanders could transition like that? You know what I'm saying? And again, you can't say that you were looking at him to give you a hip-hop masterpiece, right. But he tried it. You know what I'm saying? He did it. He got the right people behind him. You know what I'm saying? And he put it. I'd rather you try and fail than not try at all. Read what you got. Here you go.
All right. So we made a lot of jokes about this song, and see that?
Yeah.
Bill Belichick cut you immediately.
Probably.
But anyway, we made a lot of jokes about Must Be the Money. We weren't really talking about the quality of the record as much as just
the kind of, like, I don't want to say like cartoony silliness of
it.
It
wasn't even that. At least for me, it wasn't. For me, it was more so like, who put Hammer, Deion Sanders, and Dallas Austin in the same room?
Right.
How did this happen?
Right.
So, if you notice, no matter what music we talk about, I don't critique. Very rarely will I call something trash or whack. Like, I might say it jokingly.
Right.
At the end of the day, and this is me doing what I always do, but it is what it is. As a young black man, I'm not going to trash Deion Sanders for doing what he did. If it wasn't, this whole society is built on what can you do for me, right? Money makes the world go round. You need somebody to fund your endeavors. Let's keep in mind that if it wasn't for his football career, we wouldn't know who Deion was. So once you get to that plateau of, I can make some dreams happen now. Always wanted to record something.
Right.
Now I have the money to do it. Now I have the connections to do it.
Right.
It might not work. At least I can say I did it. At least I can say I did it. At least I can say I lived my dream.
Right.
Whatever that dream might be. You know what I mean? With Deion, I think that Must Be the Money, again, is a perfect example of, you can argue song quality, but it was true to him, like Sean said. Like, very true to who he was. It's no different than Shaq dropping Shaq Fu and Can't Stop the Rain, no different than Allen Iverson dropping 40 bars.
Right.
And it worked for... Well, Allen, I think the NBA stepped on him because he was supposed to be the next figurehead of the NBA.
Right.
But 40 bars wasn't a bad record. Most athletes can rap or sing a little bit. You know what I mean? Of course, you use a little bit of studio magic, but that's neither here nor there. Like, Deion's legacy is so layered. With football, he's such a brand. That's why he's still relevant today, because his personality.
Right.
You can be an artist, but if you want to make it, it's so much of who you are. I've said this to Lex 1,000 times. Your music is amazing, but when people invest in who you are, that's when you start seeing numbers move.
Right.
Deion's a personality. Yeah. He just happens to be God gifted at football.
Right.
And as humans, we're all so layered. there's more to me than football. I want to have something to say. And whether you deem it as early shiny suit era or, kind of conscious or trapped in the 90s, salute to that man for even trying.
Right. Lex, go, man.
And shout out to Hammer for backing it, because like like I said, I made jokes about it, but realistically speaking, like I will always salute black men coming together, black people coming together to make a dream happen, regardless of what it is.
Oh, absolutely.
Like slide in there.
Yeah, like absolutely. I completely agree. And that's why I started off by saying that, to me, it's really cool to see athletes try new things, to step out of their comfort zone, to step out of the box and say like, I might be like majority good, or talented at like basketball, football, etc. But I'm also creative, and I also want to try music, or I want to try, art in a different way. Like allow people to kind of step out of their box and step out of the perception of what you think they should be, and allow them to express the fullness of who they are and the fullness of their, creative dreams, essentially. So to me, I think this was such a great conversation to have. Funny enough, it did kind of have some depth to it, as sort of superficial or even gimmicky as the song might appear to be. It does have a particular sort of depth to it.
Well, Lex, you got any final thoughts to add on this initial conversation of Secret Weapons must be the music and Deion Sanders must be the money?
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes back, coming back to Deion Sanders real quick, great job. Great job. It's a fun song. I enjoy it. They sampled from an even better song. I'm gonna say it, but both songs are equally danceable. They're both groovy. They both have, a certain sort of energy to it, and they both have their particular message and energy, and they're just two very fun songs. You're an athlete and you're like, yo, I want to make my other dreams come true. I got the money to burn for it. Do it. Like, I'm all for it. Secret Weapon, they came out with a really great hit. They came out with a great album, in my opinion, and no matter where you have to go to get your success, they experience success, and we can't.
Yeah, absolutely.
What can we say about that? So,
Ree, what you got? Ree, final thoughts.
You know what's funny? We because we love music, we take it all so seriously. Sometimes it's just good to be entertained by music.
Right.
It ain't got to be all deep and philosophical. Like,
right.
Like Shizz said about Secret Weapon. Like, niggas might have got up in the studio, did a little, and was like, all right, let's go. Like, let's go. Like,
right.
They're not saying that that's the fun thing to do, gotta be role model.
A lot of artists wouldn't create music like that. So
yeah, man. Like, if you ever, never mind, forget it. So with Secret Weapon, must be the music. Great record. I don't care what. Not to say I don't care what they made from it, but I don't care what it made. I don't care what it made for them. Music is about making you feel something.
Oh,
right.
And that must be the music that's turning me on. Like, if you relate to that, man. Like, you feel that. You feel that. And then with Deion's record, I was a kid when it dropped. So I remember watching it on the box like, yo, Deion Sanders got a song. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, and if you remember the box from back then, it's like, who is calling and requesting this record all these times? Like, I've seen this show 3 times in an hour. Like, who's calling to request this? So then, like, when I first listened to the record to do research, I was like, is Shizz serious? Then I watched the video. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about this. So sometimes it's the visual.
Yeah.
Which is why Deion made the record. This is my lifestyle. You know what I mean? This is how I'm living. And for better or worse, you can argue the quality of the record. That's an icon right there. That's an icon on multiple levels that got with another icon and was funded by another icon. Like,
dude,
you know what I mean? Like,
what?
Say what you will about Hammer, but Hammer tried to put everybody on. That's why.
And we can have another conversation about him.
No, Hammer going bankrupt is only because he tried to help everybody eat.
Right.
I will always salute him for at least trying. Like, you know what I mean? Like I said to you in text, like the dude that made You Got to Pray funded Deion Sanders' music career and signed to Death Row.
Right.
We got to talk about MC Hammer.
Yo, we can do a whole episode.
We got to.
Right.
Oh, go ahead, Shizz, what you got?
Okay, let me go ahead and sub in for a second, right? Okay, so first things first. Before I get my end, I just want to say shout out to Coach Prime, right? Because when we had a conversation of hit and classic, I think Deion Sanders, Neon Deion started off as a classic that just turned into a greater classic and evolved into like a masterpiece due to what he's doing right now as Coach Prime and things that he's doing for HBCUs. So I'd be remiss not to go ahead and shout that out. You know what I'm saying? Especially when y'all talking about black folks coming together. So the things that he's doing on and off the field for HBCUs is tremendous. So definitely got to shout him out and continue to do what you do, Coach Prime. So must be the music, must be the money. Two things that are equally relatable to everybody, regardless of where you from: music and money. We all listen to music regardless of where you from, and we all working to make money regardless of where you from and how you getting it. So two things that are relatable around the world. So why not merge and mesh the two, right? It only makes sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, if you ask the question, hit or a classic for Secret Weapons must be the music, to me, it's both. It's a hit and a classic.
Yeah, absolutely.
It hits every time it comes on, and it's a hit when you remember it, and it's a classic because to this day, and probably later on, like I said, my 10-year-old dances to it. So I mean, that's if that doesn't scream classic, I don't know what does. You know what I'm saying? So it must be the music, must be the money. Again, it's debatable, hit or classic. It's debatable. But it's definitely got to be a classic because again, if you turn it on and you hear that chorus, people know it. People know it, and sometimes people know it before they know must be the music. So that's gotta scream. And then the man behind it, you know what I'm saying? Of course, you can't take nothing away from Neon Deion, Coach Prime. So I mean, again, on all fronts. Absolutely. Shout out to all parties involved. You know what I'm saying? I'm happy with everything. And again, are y'all ready for some football? So with all that being said, Lex, you got the starting position back. Go ahead and call your plays and drop your bars.
All right. So thank you once again for tuning into this week's episode of The Beat Connection. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to tell us in the comments what songs and samples you want us to talk about next. And as always, make sure to tune in to the next episode. Must be the music.
Yo, classic.
Must be the music.
What you mean? Secret Weapon? Man, look, man, I'm probably about to play that after we get done.
Look, such a good song.
And again, shout out to Michelle Blackman because she killed it at the end.
Oh yeah, yes she did.
She said the secret weapon was.
I'm neither confirming, denying, or accusing, or alleging anything.
You know what?
I'm just saying. You know what I'm saying? I get a little bit of extra sauce in mine, and when we go on and do this, I mean,
you know what?
I mean, what era was the 80s? So,
and this ain't Gatorade.
Peace, y'all.
I can't do.